Welcome back to Burn the Ship, the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs to professionals to help you go all in on your business. I'm your host, Ezra. Without further ado, allow my guest to introduce himself.
Yeah. So thanks for having me. Dr. Cutting over at Chiropractic Marty. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Dr. Cutting, kind of give us a little story. Give us a story of, what this professional journey has been like for you from going to school to where you are now. It's probably been, it's been some type of a ride, probably a whirlwind of emotions going through a story like that, but it's definitely something we want to hear. We want to kind of hear your perspective and how you became successful.
Yeah. So I grew up Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona primarily. After high school, I decided I wanted to get out of state, and I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. So I went to the University of Oregon in Eugene, did my undergraduate in human physiology. Went up to Portland, Oregon, chiropractic school, and then went back down to Eugene to start my career. And worked for someone else for about a year and a half, and quickly realized. I want to go out on my own, start my own thing. It's got a lot of good clinical experience, but unfortunately, the situation was not the best working for someone else. So I purchased a small practice in 2014 and built it up over the next 7 years and then sold that one in 2021. Moved out to Idaho, started a second practice, and we've been up and running just over 2 years now. And yeah, it's been a journey, like you said. Learned a lot of lessons along the way, learned a lot of what not to do, but also, your failures can be your greatest teachers. So I think we've come out of that, better for it. Yeah. So it's been a journey, but it's been fun.
No, that's super awesome. And do you have like a specific niche inside of your vertical that you kind of work with, or your ideal people you're looking for, or what kind of walk us through that?
Yeah. So we primarily focus on active families. So
Okay.
we've got mom and dad live an active lifestyle. And then, the kids start playing youth sports and maybe get into high school sports, maybe even have the chance to play college ball. And we just support them along their whole journey with that.
Man, that's awesome. So what kind of, obviously you worked for somebody else's practice before you had your own. Was that what you were doing in that practice, or kind of how did you come about to know that that's kind of what the specific people you were looking for ideal, that was your ideal client?
Yeah, I'd say I picked that niche because I was an athlete growing up, a very active family. I played sports my whole life. And then in the midst of playing football in particular, was my main sport in high school. I had a few concussions. So I ended the career after high school, but that became a focus of mine. I went through some health challenges as a result of those concussions. And so it became a passion of how do I serve the athletes with athletic injuries, concussions. And then that practice I worked for, it was just more of a general chiropractic clinic. You didn't really have a niche, honestly. It was just anybody. The doctor I worked for, he said, I want to see anybody with a spine. And I didn't really like that general approach. I feel like I'd been
Right.
the active, athletic population. And there's certain populations that I actually not the best fit for. So I went with
Right.
what I'm passionate about.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's definitely makes the work a little bit more enjoyable when you're passionate about it, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And then being an athlete, you've definitely you probably had it instilled in you at a young age. You got to have that drive and hard work to kind of make you successful, which I always say is that cliche thing that people tell you, but hard work and dedication will get you anywhere you want to go in life. You may hit the wall a couple times, but you'll finally break through that wall if you stay dedicated.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you stick with
But
lessons you learn in sports, they apply to real life when you hit those challenges.
absolutely, absolutely, because I was a college baseball player myself, so I completely understand that side of it. But no, and working for somebody else's practice, what kind of opened your eyes to make you realize like, hey, this is something that I think I'm gonna go all in on myself.
Yeah, so there's a saying in chiropractic that chiropractors eat their young, meaning, as I said in this practice, was a perfect example of that, where I saw a lot of people, I got my hands on some folks, I was helping people, but it was a very toxic environment. The guy that owned the clinic was just extremely negative and rude to the staff, and he worked you pretty hard and didn't pay you much for it. And so just watching that, I realized, you know what, I think I could do a better job on my own. And so I went for it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And how long have you had your own practice?
So the one in Oregon was 7 years. And then, like I said, I sold that in 2021. And then this new practice, I've been here for about 2.5 years in Idaho.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You think you're gonna stay in Idaho? Or you gonna move around?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna stay in Idaho, hopefully, Lord willing. Yeah.
I got you. That's awesome. Yeah. Do you plan on growing? Growing your practices out, or you just want to stay at a single location? That way, you're hands on with your clients.
I definitely want to maximize the single location first and foremost. So the expectation is we can fit probably three chiropractors in this space. So myself and have a couple work for me, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. If it makes sense to keep the one clinic, we'll just do that. If it makes sense to maybe add a one or two satellite clinics around town, we'll definitely keep that open minded on that one.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then what have you done to grow your business through, the last 9 years since you've been out on your own, 10 years? What would you say, you beat in the streets, word of mouth, networking, kind of how has that been for you growing your business? What's that look like?
Once you get some patients coming in the door, you get established. The number one is the word of mouth. You people have great experience here in the office, and they tell other people. They leave, Google reviews, things like that. That's the biggest, quickest way that we grow. But early on, before people know you exist, it's a lot of hitting the streets. I went to tons of marketing events, just meeting people face to face. And then these days, you look at the digital sphere as well, social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, those have probably been our top three channels that we utilize. And a lot of that is just posting constantly, educational videos, but also you want to show your personality a bit. So sometimes we throw in just funny, fun stuff that shows off our personality, getting that mix in there. And then when it came to the social media as well, trying to connect with a couple of local influencers, bring them into the office and they record their experience and, and also share out on their channels. So expand that reach. Those have been some of the top strategies we've been using.
Absolutely, you're a smart man. Then you're a smart man using the most powerful form of marketing that we have nowadays, social media.
Absolutely.
But no, man, what was as you started, obviously you probably had some trials that definitely tested you through the time of, starting your own practice. What'd you struggle with when you first kind of started out?
Yeah, I would say with the first practice, the biggest struggle was I just had no business experience. Right. And so it was just navigating, how do you even run the business side of it as far as, handling your P&Ls, and then how do you even market at all? Learn some of that. And then you start bringing on staff, and it's how do you manage a team and other people and take care of them. And you've got people naturally that, they're going to quit and you got to replace them, or, we've had to let people go. Unfortunately, you have to fire them. So that was like in the first practice, the biggest thing was just learning the business side of it in general. They don't teach you much of that in chiropractic school. It's just the clinical side, not so much business. And the second go around, it was a brand new town where I didn't know anybody when we got here. So the biggest challenge was how do you quickly make new relationships and then stand out in the midst of all the other chiropractors that are in the area.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how have you done that?
So like I said, a lot of it is just hitting the streets early on. I joined up with the local Chamber of Commerce, and I go to a lot of their events, or I did, especially early on. Joined what was called Business Networking International, or BNI.
BNI, absolutely. I'm in BNI.
That was really helpful. I went all the chapters there. I became a member, which I've been doing about 3 years now with my chapter. Um, yeah, and then it's just really that going back to the social media, you're setting yourself apart as a expert in your field with creating this content, this educational content, and letting people know, helping people find answers to their problems, I guess, right? Providing that
Right.
question, yeah, and
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. That's definitely so I have one of my very close people, kind of one of my mentors. He's actually a chiropractor, so I definitely feel for your conversation. But I met him through BNI actually, and he's helped me out tremendously. Public speaking, because being an athlete, I was always kind of scared of it. You know what I mean? Not scared of it, but I was always around people I was comfortable with. You know what I mean? People that see me every day, I'm lifting with them, eating with them. Sleeping around the same people. You know what I mean? But it was tough whenever I came into sales. It was like, man, I don't want to stand in front of 40 people and talk. But he definitely changed it, helped me, and was like, man, dude, you're good at it. Just stand up and do what you're doing already. Just slow your pace down and make your tone a little louder. And I was like, I guess you're right, man. He's like, video yourself, and I'll video you every time you speak until you get it right. And I was like, awesome. And won my Meisner Award a couple weeks in a row, and I was like, all right, maybe I got it going on now. Maybe I got it going on.
Yeah.
But no, it's BNI is definitely a huge help, man. Has it been something that's that you've enjoyed being a part of?
Yeah, definitely a good community. I've met some quality people, both for my business, but also just people in other industries, and I try to support them. And if I hear someone needs someone in that industry, it's really nice to have top of mind, just someone I can refer them to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then what was something that you did really well when you first started your business?
Um, Something I did really well.
Yeah.
I would
Uh,
say with the first clinic, um, it was just listening to people. Well, both clinics really, the supplies, but especially the first time. Unfortunately, medical industry, whether it's chiropractic, medical doctors, people don't feel heard anymore. They feel like another number. They go in and
right.
tell the doctor their symptoms. They either get a prescription from a medical doctor and out the door, or even the chiropractor. They try to ram, the with the chiropractic philosophy down their throat and just talk about these vague terms that nobody cares about or understands, especially when they're in pain. So,
Right.
you know, definitely starting out, I was trying to really focus on just listening to people, seeing them as a person, and I think feeling heard sets me apart big time.
Absolutely. Yeah, most definitely. Because I definitely can attest, though, you do feel like another number when you walk into like any type of doctor's office, a dentist office, anything in that nature. It's definitely feel like one of those, especially if somebody doesn't have that relationship with you. They don't just come in, work on your mouth, or come in and crack you back a couple times. You're like, man, what the heck? I don't have no relationship with this person, because then it gives them like no loyalty. They don't feel like they got a skin in the game, I guess as we would say.
Yeah,
And then whenever you give them that relationship, they're like, I don't want to leave him. I don't want to leave Dr. Cudden. He's like my little sounding board. He's like my therapist and my chiropractor at the same time,
absolutely.
which definitely helps out.
Yeah.
And it's probably a big testimony to your success too. Being a personable person definitely helps out a lot and helps you grow your business, especially moving to a new town, new area where you've never been to. Because
Uh,
I know that was challenging. You got to give me some of the challenges that you faced whenever you first moved over there. Because I know it was, being in Eugene, you'd been there for years at school. You're familiar with the community. They might not have knew you, but you knew the community just from being there and kind of knowing who held the power around there and who you could get in with and not. But when you got to Boise, Idaho, what kind of or Idaho, what happened? Kind of, how was that?
yeah, no, it was overall it's been good, but yeah, you're right. There was challenges. I went from a smaller town, Eugene was 175,000 to now, what they call Treasure Valley. The Boise and the surrounding areas is, I think, close to 900,000 last I heard. So much larger area and didn't know anybody. And so some of the early challenges was just getting the name out there. But then also um, coming out here, there was a lot to learn as far as the way insurance work, medical insurance and health insurance benefits. The game has changed a bit over the years, and it's different here than even is in Oregon. State to state, they have different regulations. So I learned some of that. So that was a bit more challenging. And then here in this clinic as well, it's a lot more expensive for my overhead and to getting this practice off the ground. It was a lot more expensive this time around. So having to navigate, we got money from the sale of the old clinic that we had to kind of use to fund this new one, but trying to just work through that until we got busy enough to start paying our own bills. It's a little scary at first when you're just seeing
Absolutely.
the money you had stashed away dwindling month by month. So those are the
Right.
biggest challenges, but we're getting there.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. That's super, super awesome. And the last thing I have for you is kind of, your perfect story for this. You just burned the ship, from your own practice, burnt the ship and went somewhere, took a challenge and up and moved the family over somewhere else and then took a risk, and what was that emotion like burning the ship?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a little bit of fear when you're making a big change like that, but courage is facing that fear and doing the right thing anyways, and when your conviction outweighs the fear, that then you're going to succeed. And then you just remember those life lessons of overcoming obstacles. So but our conviction of getting to Idaho, and because Oregon was no longer the place it used to be, and it was basically falling apart, and and putting my family's needs first and that quality of life for them, and then getting here and you see your kids and your wife every day, and you're working to support them, that motivates you to get out there, hit the streets, do the things you got to do to make sure you're successful. And yeah, don't let that fear get in the way. You go for what is most important for you and your family, and that outweighs everything else.
Absolutely, man. It's been super awesome talking with you, Dr. Cutton. Please tell the people where to find you.
Yeah, so we got a website, activechiropracticmeridian.com, and then we're at Active Chiro Meridian on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and then I got same thing on LinkedIn. Um, so those are the easiest ways to find us, or they can give us a call at the office. It's 208-593-2001.
Awesome, awesome. We'll link your socials down at the bottom and burn the ship.